Hello, everyone. Here's your weather hazard briefing for Monday, April 11th. We have quite a bit going on today. Rain, snow, quite a bit of wind, and some thunderstorms during the day today into this evening. And we remain cool and some occasional snow as we go through the rest of this week. And you'll notice snow levels today. We have a warm front lifting through the area this morning. Once you get into the central mountains, those snow levels pushing closer to 5,500 feet in some areas. Elsewhere, 5,500 to 6,500 feet ahead of the cold front. That comes through later on this afternoon, this evening. Snow levels rapidly drop to valley floors. And this cold front is a pretty strong one. There's going to be some pretty good winds along behind that front. Don't be surprised if we see some snow squall conditions as the front comes through. Tomorrow, the low itself, it's going to stay to the west, at least for today. The low will move over tomorrow. More snow showers and some windy conditions, breezy conditions. We'll have to watch for one of those bands of snow developing across the Snake Plain for tomorrow. And then, like we said, it remains cool and unsettled with some occasional snow showers through the end of the week. You already see some moisture moving out ahead of the low. That low is now out across along the Washington coast. The low itself, like I said, won't get in here till tomorrow, but we've got moisture already pushing in. We have a warm front across the southern portions of eastern Idaho this morning. That's going to be lifting quickly to the north as we go over the next few hours. Most areas seeing some impacts, especially if we get some wind, we get some of those snow squall conditions across the area. We might see some much higher impacts than we're indicating in the lower elevations if we do indeed see that realized on a more widespread basis. But definitely some higher impacts overall for the southern and eastern highlands, also portions of the central mountains, just because of the amount of snow we're expecting over the next 24 hours. We'll start to see those snow showers again later on tomorrow, and it will be breezy. We'll have to watch and see just how much wind occurs. I do think we will see some limited blowing snow outside of the strongest winds with the front this afternoon and behind it this evening. Wednesday looks to be the lowest impact day. There'll still be some light snow around, and then a little bit of an uptick in snow Thursday into Friday over the higher elevations for sure. Maybe a little more of an impact for travel in those areas. How are things going to progress today in terms of looking at the forecast? We've had some light snow over the southern portions of the area. That's along the warm front, and like we mentioned earlier, that warm front lifts northward today. We do see some precipitation increasing, and we do see some pretty good widespread showers across the area. With the southerly flow, places like Sun Valley, Haley, the surrounding mountains up through Arco, up towards the Montana border, upslope there will keep those higher snow amounts going. Farther south, it'll be more of which wins out, the downslope or the heavier precipitation. For now, we're counting on the downslope, at least initially, winning out. There's the front back towards Boise by around noon. This will swing inland or in through our area later on this afternoon and this evening. And along this front is the best potential for seeing the very low visibility and very strong winds sweeping through the area. And that will continue to swing eastward this evening. You notice it really dries out behind that, and that is going to actually keep our winds up overnight across much of the area, and just some lingering snow overnight along the Montana border into Wyoming. Now, after midnight, we do start to see a few more snow showers developing. That's because that low is swinging over central and eastern Idaho during the day tomorrow. And you'll notice right around noon we have a band of snow from around Stanley down through Mackey, Arco, just north of IF, arcing back towards the Island Park area. That's the convergence band we're expected to see tomorrow. And that slowly shifts to the south and to the west. It looks like the biggest impacts will probably be up in portions of the central mountains, and definitely trying to impact travel across the Arco Desert into the Snake Plain, even potentially back over towards Swan Valley and the Teton Valley. If we go into tomorrow afternoon, evening, that band pretty much slows down, may stall out briefly in these areas, and then it'll rapidly wind down as we go into tomorrow night and early Wednesday morning, especially across the Snake Plain. What we talk about when we say a convergence band, you get some pretty good north or northwest winds coming in on the central mountains and out of Montana. back to the south and to the west, you've got some pretty strong westerly winds coming in, and wherever those winds converge or meet, that's where we get those bands of snow to set up across the area. So let's go ahead and progress on with the actual forecast in terms of snow and wind. You'll see this morning we got that area of snow across the lava beds back up into the Wood River Valley, the surrounding mountains, including craters of the moon. Elsewhere, light precipitation expected, and with that downslope wind and warmer rising snow levels, really not expecting any accumulating snow, and it may be a rain-snow mix or all rain briefly from around Blackfoot to Burley down south towards the Utah border. You'll start to see those southerly winds increasing in those areas as we go into the morning. They really pick up this afternoon along and behind the cold front. Again, Idaho Falls back to Burley down to the south. Not much in the way of snowfall is expected. It may be a case of it snows heavy enough, but it's just not going to accumulate except maybe briefly on some grassy surfaces. Still continuing snow across the Wood River Valley area back up into the surrounding mountains, but that also spreads up into the Stanley Basin and the Sawtooth. Also seeing that snow expand up along the Montana border, and other higher elevations starting to see the snow moving in as we go into the afternoon hours. And some of those wind gusts ahead of the front, 30 to 40. We'll see 40 and higher, likely at very briefly at least behind the front, along and behind the front this afternoon. Into this evening, those gusty winds continue. You'll start to see the heavier snow band shifting into the eastern highlands up along the Montana Divide and along the Montana border, especially once you get back up past Ladore, north of Salmon towards Lost Trail Pass. And for tonight, snow is decreasing overall, but the general trend is keeping it up along the Montana border. Gusty winds continuing, and we may be underdone on these winds overnight, depending on how things set up in the dry slot behind, coming through behind the front. Now, we talk about, specific snow amounts. Now, if you want to say, okay, we have snowfall going in the forecast, sometimes we can look at what is the probability of seeing more than a certain amount of snow. And we've been talking about some specific areas, the Bear River Range up along the Montana border, also around the Wood River Valley and surrounding mountains. You can see many areas. This is through 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. You'll notice some of the Wood River Valley areas seeing around a 40% chance, if not higher, of more than 6 inches of snow, and certainly in the surrounding mountains. The same once you get up towards Monida Pass, Island Park along the border there, around over a 30% chance of seeing 6 inches or more, and also down to the Bear River Range. Looking at 8 inches or more, you can see those numbers starting to drop off, but still some decent probabilities in the mountains surrounding the Wood River Valley of seeing 8 or more inches of snow, and even up along the Montana border and across the Bear River Range. And once you get to a foot or more, it really drops off. But it's not zero. Again, up around Island Park to Monida Pass, Lost Trail Pass, and even in the Sawtooth there, over around south of Stanley, and also near Galena Summit as well. For temperature-wise, today ahead of the front, it's going to be well into the 40s, maybe 45 to 50 from Blackfoot to Burley down south, also back into the Treasure Valley. 30s and 40s for our other valley locations, 20s and 30s up in the high country. Now, for tomorrow, it's going to be pretty breezy on the south end of things. The low scoots across our northern areas, south of the front, pretty breezy across the area. And today and tomorrow, with the snow coming through, there will probably be some pockets of blowing snow. Whether it is widespread or not, we'll have to be monitoring those trends. You'll notice some decent snow over the southern and eastern highlands, again along the Montana border and the Sawtooth and surrounding mountains. We talked about this convergence band. 2 to 4 inches is definitely in our forecast. Idaho Falls back towards Arco and Mackey, craters of the moon, back down to around American Falls and Pocatello, maybe a little higher in some of those bench areas east of I-15 and south of I-86. And, those higher end amounts, the probabilities are around 30 to 50% in those areas. So I'd definitely say 1 to 2 is a good bet within this band. The lower probabilities, they're definitely not zero once you get to the higher end of these ranges across the Snake Plain. So certainly something to keep an eye on. And the models don't do very well with these bands in the spring. We saw that over the weekend. We saw quite a bit more snow than the models were spitting out and what we were forecasting with the band, basically around Blackfoot up into the bench areas. That was over the weekend. Not saying we'll see a repeat of that tomorrow, but something we'll keep an eye on with that band of snow developing. Temperatures tomorrow, it's probably not going to get out of the 30s in the lower elevations, even down towards the Utah border. So a much cooler day behind the front tomorrow. Lighter snow, like we said, on Wednesday. Definitely we'll see some pockets of snow. And temperatures just a little bit cooler, if not very similar, going into Wednesday across the region. We see a little uptick in snow on Thursday, especially in the higher elevations, with warmer temperatures coming. And temperatures to continue to warm up into Friday. So like we said, we've got our wave of snow coming in, rain in some of our lower elevations ahead of the front. We may definitely see, or could definitely see, some snow squall conditions, at least some lower visibilities and some a brief burst of snow with the front coming through this afternoon. And we haven't really said much. There should probably be thunderstorms with that front this afternoon. A little better chance of that band of snow across the Snake Plain tomorrow. That may be our best chance across the Snake Plain for snow accumulation. It'll be breezy again tomorrow with the low coming through, and then again occasional snow through the end of the week. If you're traveling today, keep abreast of the latest forecast, check those road conditions, and do stay safe out there, everyone.